Howdy, y'all. This is Rhett Miller from the Old 97's, and you're watching the Texas music scene with my little buddy, Ray Benson.
Howdy, folks. We caught up with the Old 97's on the road at the 2017 Braun Brothers Reunion in Idaho. Here's Rhett Miller with a conversation on the band's 2017 album, Graveyard Whistler.
Could you please believe I didn't mean to do no harm? Baby, I'm a bad luck charm.
So after Most Messed Up, the Old 97's had a weird predicament where people had really liked that record in a way that, 10 years worth of records before it hadn't kind of registered with people. And it was great. It was surprising 20 years into our band to have that kind of response. It was our 11th studio album we were going in to make, but it kind of felt suddenly like a sophomore record. So I went in and I just tried to write the songs that felt natural. And what those wound up being were a bunch of songs that kind of felt like the day after. Like the guy in the songs, which isn't me, but the guy in the songs was having to answer for, his sins.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be one of a kind, but I'm scared to death she might change her mind. She hates everybody but me.
And then when we decided we would work with Vance Powell, who's a great producer and a really cool dude, Vance had the idea that we should go down to El Paso to Tornillo, where we recorded our record Too Far to Care 20 years earlier. And that was its own really cool thing, because then you kind of get into this time loop where there we are 20 years later, but we feel like we're the same exact guys sitting in the same exact spot where we had been when we recorded Too Far to Care. It kind of all worked together to make Graveyard Whistling, which to me really feels kind of like a record about survival, and it's funny, all the interviews I've done for this record, I'd never kind of settled on that word, but that really feels like what it is more than anything else. It's having survived, a night of debauchery or 2 decades of being in a rock band.
Goodness knows I've done you wrong. I'm not too gone to see. All I know is I'm good with God. I wonder how she feels about me. I wonder how she feels about me.
So Graveyard Whistling opens with I Don't Want to Die in This Town, which is a tune I wrote with my buddy Salim Nuralla that's produced a bunch of records for us over the years. He had this idea. He'd read a story about Frank Sinatra, and he had a heart condition, the situation on stage, and he ran off the stage as soon as he realized he was having a heart attack, and he jumped in the back of his town car and he yelled to his driver, "Get me the hell out of here. I don't want to die in this town."
Stepped on the gas, get out of here. I don't want to die in this town. Put it in the past, in the rear view mirror. I don't want to die in this town.
Like Most Messed Up was definitely an exploration of what it means to be in a rock band and to have this be your life for all these years. And Graveyard Whistling is kind of the flip side of that, the dark side of spending your life on the road. And so I Don't Want to Die in This Town kind of felt like, you wind up in, weird tertiary markets, as they say. And it's just a weird feeling like, what am I doing here? Every once in a while you're like, I miss my kids, And so I think there's a little bit of that. And sonically, I think that really captures a lot of what this record was about. That big kind of desert sound with a lot of reverb. And it feels almost like a spaghetti western, and so there you're in a graveyard, the guitar is just clanging off of gravestones. I mean, that to me captures what the whole kind of record was about.